Live or 360, which one you like more?
Live.
Because?
I can pinpoint. If I see it out there, I know exactly how deep it is. I know, for the most part, how big it is, and I can make the exact cast to that fish. Now, are we going to catch all of them? Absolutely not. But I know that I don't have to make 3 casts to put my bait on his nose.
Okay. Has either one changed the way you fish?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't even remember the year, 2015 or 16. You know, I won on St. Clair with Panoptics, which was the first phase of live scope. It was 2D live scope, and you know, I remember after the event telling everybody, and not a lot of people believed me, and walk down this line of boats here. I guarantee there's 55 out of 55 that have some type of forward-facing sonar, and you know, the live scope has just changed it. No matter if I'm crappie fishing, bass fishing, cat fishing, doesn't matter.
Do either one, Live or 360 or whatever Garmin 360 is, they help you fish shallow?
So for Garmin, we have 2 different applications. You have live scope, which is forward facing view, which is a slice of the water column vertically. And then we have perspective mode, which is you don't have to have a different unit or a different transducer. All you do is turn the transducer sideways, and it takes a slice of the water, but it's lateral. You know, I can look in the top 10 foot of the water column. So it gives you the best of both worlds without having to have multiple units or anything like that. And it just depends on how I'm fishing, on which one that I'm using. You know, and if you look on the front of my boat right now, I have 2 transducers. So I can actually use both of them at the same time, which lets me kind of decide which one I'm going to use in the event.
Okay. Would you rather have power poles or anchor lock?
I'm not going to answer that question because I love those, and I love anchor lock. You know, I think that you have to have both. Anchor lock, you know, obviously can anchor you in any water, but the power poles, I mean, when I put those down in shallow water, I can position my boat the way that I want it and have it. So I wouldn't want to fish a tournament without either one of them.
Okay. All right, would you rather have live or 360?
360.
Because?
I think 360 probably suits my style of fishing better than live.
Okay. Have either or both changed the way you fish?
Yes, without a doubt, they've changed the way I fish. I spend a lot more time looking at my electronics now than I ever have in the history of me fishing.
And that's how it's changed. You have your head down most of the time.
I do. The last day of practice, I just like this the whole day. And then I'm peeping.
That's funny, man. Do either of them help you fish shallow?
Definitely they both help you fish shallow, but the 360, the reason I like the 360 more so than the live, I don't have to turn my trolling motor around to look. It's always looking around me, and I don't have to be concerned with turning and looking.
Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Poles.
Because?
Just because I spend a lot of time fishing in the dirt, and power poles are the deal, you know, fishing extremely shallow.
All right, do you like live or 360 better, and why?
I guess I'm probably gonna be live, because I think I can see, with the exception of like bottom transitions, I can see like boulders and brush piles on my live and fish, and it's like up to the second, where 360 I gotta wait like a second to see what.
Have either of them changed the way you fish?
The live definitely has. I mean, it just shows you stuff that you could never see before. It's got me just throwing out in the middle of the lake now. The 360, I don't know if it would necessarily change the way I fish, but it made like fishing boulders and brush piles like way easier than without it.
Do either of them help you fishing shallow?
What do you call it, shallow?
I don't know, you define it.
My opinion of shallow, when I think shallow, I think the bank. And I'm gonna say not so much, but it could, if you're going down the bank, you could see something, you know, out in front of the boat on that stuff that you would catch one off of, but then you're not fishing the bank, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Huh. Probably spot lock, just because I can use it in a million feet of water, and poles are only good to, you know, 8 foot.
Live.
Because
You know, both are great tools. One's situational awareness and one's bait awareness, and I'm very impatient. I'm just an impatient person in general, and I love keeping an eye on my bait at all times.
have one or both changed the way you fish?
Both have changed the way I fish, hands down.
How?
Sometimes it slows you down, sometimes it speeds you up. It allows you to get the reaction on the fish. It allows you to know what you're fishing, the structure where you're not wasting time, be more efficient, and it allows me to gauge basically the personality of those fish and what kind of mood they're in. And when they're in a good mood, we know we're doing something right.
Thank you. Do either one of them help you fish shallow?
Both. Hands down, both.
Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Poles, all day.
Because
I can't even tell you last time I used spot lock, because my live scope, my forward facing sonar is on my trolling motor, and that trolling motor doesn't stop moving because I'm staying my foot on the gas and we're rolling. This boat only goes forward, it doesn't really go backwards, and the power poles are the deal for when I'm shallow water, if I'm at a boat landing real quick or anything like that, and sneaking up on shallow fish. You know, I actually take my power poles down to 8% speed, so when I'm in that shallow water, just creeps down on them.
okay. What do you like better, live or 360?
360.
Because
I get to see all the structure I want to fish. I don't care about the fish as much as I do the structure at this point in my life.
okay. Have either or both changed the way you fish?
It just made me better at what I like to do.
Okay. Do either help you fish shallow?
Yes, 360 helps me fish shallow, everything. 360 is just my all-around go-to, so yes.
Okay. Would you rather have power poles or spot lock?
Power poles.
Because?
Because I run 10 footers and I can get them to hit the ground in most places I like to fish.
All right. Would you rather have live or 360 and why?
Whew, I have gotten that question a lot. 360 or Mega Live. I'm going Mega 360. The reason for that is that on Mega 360, I don't have to pan or scan around to figure out what's there. It does that for me. I'm able to keep my boat in one place and get a lay of the land. And what that does is that gives you a better understanding of why the fish are actually there. It gives you the subtle details, the hard bottom to soft bottom changes, the way a channel or a very subtle ditch comes in, grass lines, things like that. All things that you can see with Mega Live, but your mind has to constantly remember what you're seeing as you pan and scan around and where you saw that and where your transducer was pointed when you do that. But with Mega 360, you don't, and I feel like location is more important than actually the bait or anything that you're throwing. And so being able to understand why that fish is there then allows me to bring my Mega Live in and make the accurate presentation and see my bait as it comes through the water column.
Has either one changed the way you fish?
Both of them have changed the way I fish. When I got Mega 360, it changed the way I fished. It made me more confident offshore. It made me more efficient. And then Mega Live has just doubled that. One of the toughest things to do as an angler has always been to catch suspended fish or go look for fish that are roaming and nomadic. And it gives you that ability to be efficient doing that. You're not it takes all the guesswork out of where your bait's at, what level it's at, where those fish are at, and how they're moving. And so when you pair those up, I mean, they've each changed the way I fish in their own way.
How about shallow? Has either one helped you shallow a lot?
I've had more time with Mega 360, and I've made a lot of money fishing shallow, fishing that in-between kind of dead zone, I call it, where it's too shallow for guys to idle or too shallow for guys that idle where they just don't do it. And it's also off the bank where guys aren't visibly seeing targets. And those are the things that I catch with my Mega 360 off to the side that are underwater targets, not visible to your eyes, that a lot of those fish stage on this time of year before they move up. Mega 360, I've actually caught some fish out of 2-3 foot of water on it, where you just scan over, you see one dot, you pitch over there and catch them.
Okay, would you rather have spot lock or talons?
Cool. I feel like I would rather have spot lock versus talons or any shallow water anchor. I feel like there's just more situations where that comes into play. For launching a boat, doing it without shallow water anchors, doing it without raptors after you've done it for so long, you feel lost.
What do you prefer, live scope or perspective mode?
Just straight live scope, forward looking.
Because?
I just like seeing what's ahead of me.
Okay. Have either one changed the way you fish?
They've definitely shown me that I'm not as good as I thought I was, because you definitely can't catch every one of them off that screen.
Have either one of them helped you fishing shallow?
Definitely, they have definitely helped me fishing shallow, especially around docks. You can see the fish suspended up under floating docks.
Would you rather have power? Do you have power poles?
Mm-hmm.
And what's your spot lock called?
I don't know what they call it. Anchor lock or something like that.
Would you rather have power poles or anchor lock?
Power poles, 100%.
Because?
Because they have more usage than just holding you in one spot, especially like you're putting the boat in and out by yourself. You take your kids fishing, you can put them down and just sit right there and fish and not have to worry about it.
All right, what do you like better, live or 360?
Ooh, neither. What are those?
That might be shorter than 6 questions. Okay, how about this one? Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Oh, definitely probably we'll have to go with poles.
Because?
I like, well, gosh, I mean, I'm torn now. I'd like poles in the beginning of the season, but then once it's smallmouth time, man, I honestly really enjoy the spot lock when it comes to smallmouth time. Even though I get a lot of hate from you guys, when I put the, the Ultrex or whatever with the spot lock on there, I seem to get a lot of hate. But it is nice to be able to hold yourself still in a 5 mile per hour current.
All right. Would you rather have live or 360?
Live.
Because?
It's literally 50-50. I'm just answering the question. Like, if I have grass or rocks, I'm 360 all the way. Anything like pole timber, brush piles, vertical, I'm live. I literally use both of them 50% of the time. If I had to take one, I would take the live.
Have either or both changed the way you fish?
Not as much as the next guy down the line. I don't let it bother me. I still power fish and do my deal. But it obviously changes. You can see fish reacting and see how they're set up a little bit better than just dragging or thinking they're doing one thing. So yeah, I mean, it's making the world fish differently. And whether it's just skipping a dock or fishing an actual deep, a deep tree or brush pile or something, it's revolutionized the whole world, crappie fishing to bass fishing to catfishing. I mean, it's all different because of it.
Do either of them help you fish shallow better?
Yes, I mean here, even especially on the clear shallow docks here, you can see the fish under the floats on these docks with the Humminbird Mega Live is what I use, and I can scan a whole dock, and if there's not one under that float, you can't see them. I mean, they're not there. I can sweep a dock if he's not there, I can go to the next one. When one's under there that's big, has some size, you see them every time. Now you might not be able to get a bait to them or get them to react to it, but you know that fish is there and you can see the size, and you can either change your presentation or come back later and see if that fish will bite then.
Okay, would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Ooh. Spot lock, obviously, just because so many places were like that, but I use my Raptors and my Talons so much. You know, I'm a shallow southern largemouth guy, or, you know, that's, if I'm going to win, it's going to be doing something like that most of the time. Both my Elite Series victories, Talons were down one time, Raptors were down the other, you know. So that's a hard one to choose. I've had success with both, but being a fisherman every day today, it would definitely be spot lock if I was just fishing.
Would you rather have live or 360?
Oh, live, no question. I want to be able to see what's happening, what's moving, what's swimming. I'm used to it. I had the original Panoptics back in the day when Garmin introduced it. It's the only way to go.
Have either or both changed the way you fish?
So I've never had 360 on my boat. The new Perspective from Garmin has been a good addition. I'm running both on my boat this year. But for me, I still think that the live, original, live scope style, forward-facing sonar is more critical to me the way that I fish. I feel like I get a few extra bites by having that, and to me that's huge.
Okay. Does it help you fish shallow?
So yes, so what I try to figure out when I'm using it in the shallow water is not only what's happening, especially around docks here at Hartwell. You see things like that. You can see those fish suspended up under those boats and under those floats and things. So you know exactly what cast to make, so you're not wasting a lot of time on specific pieces of structure. But you can also see stumps in super shallow water, and you can actually a lot of times see the fish sitting next to the stump. So that just helps pinpoint more cast and more accurate cast. Just, I mean, you got to catch 5 big ones, and anytime you can make one cast and catch a fish, a lot of times those will be your bigger fish.
Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
I think anchor mode they both have a place. I think for me, power pole is important. I think a lot of it is you got to look at it as where you spend most of your time fishing. If you spend your time fishing in less than 6-8 feet a lot, where you live or the style that you like to fish, I think you go power pole. I think if you spend most of your time out deeper and you fish on big waters, I definitely think having anchor mode is key.
Okay. Would you rather have live or 360?
Live, and it's not even close.
Because?
It's way faster, and I like to go fast.
Okay. Have either or both changed the way you fish?
A little bit. I spend more time chasing them now, where I used to would not fish for suspended fish almost at all. Now, I actually enjoy kind of getting out there and chasing around suspended fish, but it gets time consuming in tournaments, so I still have to rein it in a little.
Okay. Do either of them help you fish shallow?
Yeah, both of them actually help you fish shallow. You know, like a lot of times you'll pick up on something throughout the day, and it's not as efficient shallow as it is deep, but over the course of an 8-hour day, both of them are going to give you a little bit more info throughout the day.
Would you prefer poles or spot lock? Which one?
Poles for sure, because I like fishing shallow. I like flipping, frog, and that type of stuff. I like fishing where poles are king.
Live.
Because?
Because that's what I've used and that's what I have confidence in. I definitely do wish I had 360 at times. I feel like 360 is better for structure. Live is better for actually chasing fish.
Okay, awesome. Have either or both changed the way that you fish?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the biggest learning curve with live sonar is knowing when to use it, when to push all your eggs in that basket, and when to turn it completely off. At least that's been my experience. The last 3 tournaments in Florida, I never turned it on because I was fishing very, very shallow. And I didn't want it in my mind. You know, I was fishing targets that I could see with my eyes. Here this week, I'll have it on the entire time, and I will rely on it from the time we start till the time we end every day.
Do either of them help you fish shallow better?
Shallow is a relative term. I would say 5 feet and less, it gets to the point where that cone doesn't have time to spread out enough to really tell you a whole lot about what you need to know. But deeper than 5 feet, like 5 to 10, yeah, absolutely.
Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Oh, man. I'm gonna go with spot lock, but I would not want to fish a shallow tournament without my power poles anymore. Gosh. But I just feel like, oh man, both of them have changed the game. They really have, but I guess I'd have to go with spot lock.
Live. And I don't have any experience with 360, so obviously I'm a Garmin guy. So our 360 would be perspective. And there's times for both, but I would rather have live. These are both changing. I mean, yes, no. I mean, the thing about it is with live, you can see what's out there more. So there is going to be a cast throughout the day that you wouldn't normally make if you didn't have it. So in a way, it hasn't changed the way I fish, but it changes the way that I make casts and the way I can see things.
Do either help you fish shallow?
Absolutely, yeah. And I've talked about that 100 times to people, and it's not all the time about seeing fish with live, but like I can tell you numerous times where in shallow water that I could see a little rise out there in front of me that wouldn't be on the map or anything, and it might be just like a foot or two, and I could make a cast to it before I got on top of it and catch a fish. And that I could numerous times I've done that, and that's you don't only see fish, but you can see subtleties in the bottom. So yeah, it's not all about deep water; it's shallow water too.
Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
I'd rather have poles or spot lock. Let's see. That's a tough one. For me, dang, that is a tough one. I guess it just depends on where you're fishing. At home, I think I would rather have spot lock because, you know, a lot of times I'm fishing 20, 35 foot deep. If I'm in Florida, I would rather have poles. So I guess that's all apparent where I'm at. But if I'm at home, probably spot lock.
Would you rather have live or 360, and why?
I love 360, but I would rather have Mega Live because I want to see where the fish are and how they react to my bait.
Okay, awesome. Have either or both changed the way you fish?
Both have definitely changed the way I fish. I love to fish offshore and use my electronics, so I'm at the point now where if I didn't have Mega Live on the front of my boat, I'd probably rather sit at home and watch The Bachelor with my wife.
Okay. Do either of them help you fish shallow better?
Yeah, absolutely. Both Mega 360, Mega Live help with shallow water as well for seeing, you know, weed clumps, grass edges. You know, I'm seeing fish swimming around in, you know, when we just fished in Florida in 6, 8 feet of water. You know, it takes a little bit of practice and playing with some of the settings, but you can use those electronics in shallow water as well.
Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
I would rather have spot lock versus poles because I'm much happier if my boat's in more than 10 feet of water.
Would you rather have live or 360?
Live.
Why?
I just want to see what's going on and what's happening right then and there. That way I can follow fish a lot easier instead of, I mean, the 360 is nice because you can get a pan of what's going on around you, but you can't figure out exactly what's happening at that time.
Okay. Have either or both changed the way you fish?
100%. I used to never pick my head up, or I was always fishing. And now I'm starting to figure out that I'm all of a sudden going out in the middle of the lake for some dumb reason, chasing a fish around. But it has definitely put more fish in the boat for me.
Do either of them help you fish shallow better?
Which I had 360 for a little bit, which I didn't use it as much. The live definitely has. I use it a lot in the 3 to 6, 7 foot of water, where a lot of guys don't really use it that shallow.
Okay. Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Poles, 100%.
Because?
I like to be able to just stop right there, and you don't have the boat just going all over the place, because, you know, spot lock, it does keep you in a 3 foot area and it's going nuts the whole time, where poles are dropped down, silent, secure, and I'm ready to go.
Would you rather have live or 360?
Which is two?
Yeah, which one?
I use both, but most important is live.
Because?
Now.
Why?
Because I have many Japanese techniques, Japanese finish techniques, so I can try to very close bait.
Right.
So and the Japanese techniques, Japanese bait is very small, but I can too easy to presentation. It's a close the fish. It's live. Yeah.
Got it. Has 360 or live changed the way you fish? Do you fish differently now?
Different?
Do you do anything that you didn't do before because of live or because of 360?
Yeah, so 360 changed the game, and but live is to change. So it's easy to catch the fish. So very changing the game, the 360. No, live, but and too much pressure to fish too. It's a little bit difficult to bite because live always everyone use it. Fish don't like live, so sometimes don't like and transduce a sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Does live or 360 help you fish shallow?
Yeah, both. 360 is the help and shallow, and live is the help shallow too. Yeah, both.
Okay. Would you rather have power poles or spot lock?
Yeah.
Which one?
Spot rock. Yeah, anchor rock always I use because I usually fish in the deep. I'm no good shallow fishing, so I always fish in the deep. I usually use anchor rock.
Anchor rock.
Yeah.
Motor gun.
Yeah, motor guide. Yeah.
Definitely live.
Because?
For me, I want to see what's going on real time, being very specific on where the fish are, stuff like that. Both have their great attributes, but I feel like forward live facing sonar is the way to go.
Okay. Have either or both changed the way you fish at all?
Yes. Some for the good, some for the bad. So it definitely takes a learning curve to know when you need to be using it and when you need to just go fishing. There's times where you can't be on the water without it, and there's other times it can hold you back. So it definitely takes some getting used to figure out when to need it and when not to use it.
Okay, great. Do either of them help you fish shallow better?
At times, there's definitely some certain situation. Good deal would be Hartwell. The way these fish set up, herring lakes, you can definitely utilize it in shallow places.
Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Power poles, for sure. I want to be able to stop down when I need to sight fish or whatever. I utilize that more than being offshore hitting a spot lock.
Okay.
Live.
Because?
Just because I can see exactly what's going on at that time, and it's a live image. I can actually see the fish and read the fish and know exactly what they're doing with my baits. I can study the fish and their ways, their habitats, like see where they're set up at, and I can also just get a good feel of what's going on with the actual fish at that time.
Okay. Have either or both changed the way you fish?
No doubt, definitely, 100% definitely changed the way I fished. It's just from the fact of, it's a matter of studying them. You can see what the fish are doing, what they want, different bait selections. Sometimes you'll throw out there and that fish comes up and it looks at it and it just stares at it, doesn't commit to it. You ain't got a good color. And now it's not, every fish is not the same. Fish are always different. But usually if you get a color or a certain bait that they're really keying on and they really like to eat, obviously that's the bait that you're going to want to use, and you can study that by using your units and using your live sonar, forward facing sonar, and that's really a huge difference maker, especially in our game. You got to have any advantage that you can get with these guys because they're super tough.
Okay. Do either of them, live or 360, help you fish shallow?
Yes, both helps me fish shallow. I'll even use my 360 really a lot whenever I'm fishing up for spawning brim spawn, fish brim on beds. You know, you'll be able to go down through around grass mats, different isolated clumps as well. If you're fishing any grass lake, it's really super key when you're fishing a grass lake, because you might be going along and you're not paying much attention, and out beside the boat, 50 feet away from the boat, there's one little isolated clump. And that one little clump could hold 5 big fish in that one clump and can make the difference on you doing good or even winning the tournament. And I like using my live sonar when I'm fishing for fish on the bed. I'll actually use it as well, and I'll actually sight fish with my live sonar.
Awesome. Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Just my preference, probably poles, because I like to do sight fishing. I like to look at them. I like to be able to not move at all, be stationary, be still. It helps me out. You know, anytime that I'm up shallow doing my game, that's what helps me out the most. You know, spot lock, still the trolling motor might move a little bit here and there, and I like to be super stealthy, super quiet, and that's what helps me out the best is the poles.
Live.
Because?
You can do the same with both. I mean, you can do the same with live as 360.
Have either or both changed the way you fish?
Definitely. I didn't put a 360 on my boat this year because of the live. Yeah, it does. I mean, you're looking down a lot more, but when you're fishing offshore, you can dang sure pinpoint target, like at the Harris chain, following that outside edge, and actually seeing a few fish over the grass.
Did either of them help you fish shallow?
The live will, especially like here, looking at the boat docks, those shallow, that inside float, you can see if there's something under it. Usually you can see them if they're just suspended off the bottom.
Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Spot lock, more versatile. I mean, the poles work good like at the boat ramp, and obviously sight fishing shallow, but that's just a small part of the year.
All right, would you rather have live or 360?
Oh God, that's gonna be a super tough one. I'm probably gonna say 360. I use 360 more than anything.
Okay, why? Seeing structure and whatnot?
I feel like it's more versatile as far as just running down the banks, fishing offshore. You can use it everywhere. Not to say you can't with Mega Live, but to me, I like seeing everything that's around me, all the structure. So that's a real tough question, but I think I'd go with the 360.
Okay, has either one changed the way you fish?
Both has changed it a lot. Probably the mostly changed the way I fish is the Mega Live. It completely changed the way I fish. Like I mentioned earlier, I think as far as fishing shallower, just running the banks, fishing the bank, I think the 360 helps me fishing shallow more than anything.
Because why? What are you seeing?
Just structure, the biggest key to 360 is seeing the bottom types, as far as changing from sand to gravel, seeing hard spots or soft bottoms. That's to me, that's the key with 360, is seeing the different types of bottom that you can't see with the Mega Live or any forward-facing sonar.
Okay. Would you rather have poles or spot lock?
Spot lock.
Because?
It's a little bit more useful. Again, you can use it fishing deep water or shallows. Spot lock is probably a little bit more useful than poles.